Greetings and welcome to Die Dragon Die presents Enter the Dungeon. I have to say it that way, otherwise I say Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dungeon. Session 1. We are gathered here in Sudbury, Ontario, the hometown of Mark and I. We're actually in person. I could reach out and just touch an Ahmed. See? There we go. There we go. It's a little bit weird. Yep. See? Yeah, we see each other every weekend.
This is the size difference, actually.
We see each other every Saturday and then some online, but it's good to smell you guys.
It has its moments.
Right.
Stanky.
So, your DM and host Marty, joined by Adam, Mark, and Ahmed, all in person. We are at a conference room in a hotel in Sudbury. That shall name remain unnamed. Simply because nobody cares. So what are we doing? We're going to play a mini campaign using the Pathfinder 2 edition. There's 80 pages of new rules. 638 of new rules. We've spent the last 6 hours, as per our summary in session 0 of the characters, building new characters. We built 7 characters. Each of the players will control 2, and I'll control a DM NPC that will help move things along. This is a custom homebrew world, and we should probably just dive right the fuck in.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I cast magic mist for the darkness.
Do you now?
Got gray eyes.
So I'm going to set the stage for the campaign world. And then I'm going to introduce some of the characters and get things moving from there. We will have to pause every once in a while because this is a new rule set. We kind of want to get it right on the first time around, so it might be boring as we are flipping through rules, but them's are the breaks with any new game, and we tend to like knowing what the rules are. That is our style. But we'll keep things moving, and we'll do funny voices and have a good time. Let me just get rid of this view so I can look at my DM notes and scroll out to
There
see.
we go. Screenshot.
To scroll out to see who the damn party is, and if you see everyone sort of looking up, we've got this on a giant projection screen, and now I've got ideas for new setups at home, perhaps. Okay, so what is the campaign world about? First, it should be noted that some of these characters were characters that were played in a previous campaign. It was in our Pathfinder 1 playtest back in 2008 when it first came out that some of these characters were actually played for a full campaign during Rise of the Rune Lords, and before that Curse of the Crimson Throne adventure paths, as well as some other shenanigans along the way that tied those campaigns together. We had a lot of fun, and ever since that campaign we've been playing Pathfinder 1. So we saw it only fitting to reintroduce some of these characters that we had and loved and played for a couple of years into the second edition, effectively true test of the rule set. We did play the Pathfinder 2 playtest, and obviously there were things that were broken and things that they were testing, and we couldn't, continue on with a campaign with those guys. Those characters ended up part of the Dread and Circus universe. These characters are a little bit aside from the Dread and Circus Legends universe. However, there is a thread immediately evident that unites them. The deities that they got to pick from were not the deities of the Greyhawk Pantheon, but they were the deities of the new Pantheon.
Also known as the Notebook Pantheon.
The Notebook Pantheon, sure. The Notebook you're not allowed to look at. These deities include the Nameless, who are the Five-Faced God, the Source behind the light, the Dragon and Elf Shadow, the Face behind the Mask, also known as the Face in the Reflection, the Heart of Gold, the Rings in the Wood, the Voice in the Storm, the Thing in the Deep, the Silence of the Grave, the Pattern in the Weave, the Mother of Monsters, the God between the Rows, the Red God, who is also known as the Righteous Might, or the Duality of War. And those are the small but growing number of...
The space between the rows.
The God between the rows?
Yeah.
We have to find out.
What'd you roll?
I rolled an 11.
Alright, well, Good for you. Hope that felt good. Average. So they got to pick from these deities with their character creation, which deities that they worship and that sort of thing, as these are the active deities on this particular world. Let's dive into a little bit of lore, because everyone loves exposition. DM notes. And Kingdom of Samson. And nope. DM stuff. Nope. Party pages. Nope. Where did I put it? Setting. The land of Samsil is a realm of dark woods, brooding mountains, and misery. From his fortress mountain city of Epoch, the Iron King rules with a brutal fist and draconian measures. In the valleys and fields, indentured serfs tend to the land under the yoke of the cruel Bushi lords. Here and there, hamlets and villages dot the land. Their inhabitants eke out a meager existence, burdened with crippling taxes and oppressive demands. The old aristocracy has nearly vanished under 20 years of rule by the Bushi lords and their Iron King. Once proud and feared in their own right during the time of King Hestron, the lords and knights of Epoch ride the land no more. What's left of them are distant relations clinging to the vestiges of the past, hiding in dilapidated manors and remote mountain keeps, waiting for the dreadful day when the Bushi lords come to call. Waiting for the day when they'll come to cull their number. While death is feared, so too is the culling. For the strong none can escape, for it is their fate to enter the dungeon.
I bet there's a dungeon in the mountain somewhere. There was a mountain and there's a dungeon. There'll be a mountain. Does anybody bring a torch?
Anyone bring
You
it
get 5 of them if you buy the adventure pack.
Too late. There will be no more torch buying. Oh, shit. What did we get ourselves into?
I do like the detail they get into in the capacity, like origin and
You like the
I like that.
to get into the pouches and how many items go in each pouch and break it down.
The
It
world.
goes into that much. I didn't even go that far.
The world is called Runarak, the kingdom Samsil, and your tiny remote area of Samsil I will reveal to you in a map. Player visible. Fog of War is on.
Potentially have a sheet like a neck with like loading bays. You can get that level of detail if they're curious.
The kingdom, it's just how it is done, is divided into quadrants. This is the quadrant of Dyre-Sylvannia, which is ringed by the Falsathian Mountains, and some of the interesting spots on the map are placed so. We've got Bone Sparrow Manor and the Wolf's Head Village. Actually, it is the Sparrow Village.
How quadranty are these quadrants?
Perfect squares. The terrain is not perfect, it is terrain. Squares are perfect quadrants.
You see someone going, sir, you're going to have to move your entire farm over that way. 10 feet, that's all.
The brooding forests of the Dyre-Sylvan woods separate you from the more, we'll say, cultivated lands of the south of the quadrant of Dyre-Sylvannia. The traditional ruler of this quadrant is the Van Imp family.
Hey, I know one.
However, the Van Imp family is pretty much no more in Dyre-Sylvannia. There are a couple of other places of note. So Bone Sparrow Manor overlooks the small village of Sparrow, and that's where a lot of the characters that we've created are from. Also, some distance away is the Sanitarium of Saint Solars. And we'll get into the background of these two places, as this is where the adventure will begin. Whose backstory will we talk about first?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
1 to 2 is Adam, 3 to 4 is me, 5 to 6 is Mark, me, Shadow, or Crusher.
All right.
Grub pretend no work.
Crusher is not blowing anyways.
Let's talk about Bone Crusher, and we'll have to probably talk about Shadow in the same breath as their brothers. All right.
That's just how they would paint it. It's a little not a scowly face.
Who's that?
I was just noting that the token's not quite the same as on the character sheet.
My notes.
That's how he was romanticized in the painting.
Okay, Crusher. I don't think we wrote up a backstory, so we're going to write it as we go for Bone Crusher. It's changed a little bit because of the god changes that we made at the last minute. Let me find
These just have to go out of arm's reach.
background details. Okay, Bone Crusher. You are of the family Wolfsheim. Do you have any knowledges in history or ancestry or anything like that?
The strength monks, or I don't know what.
Anything.
Warfare. Maybe my family was involved in some war.
Yes. Okay. We'll say that your family has helped the monastery of Saint Solars to defend itself, and we'll get into a little bit of what Saint Solars is. You were trained at the monastery of Saint Solars. It first started out as a small monastery, and then over the years became a sanitarium. A lot of crazy people and infirm and sick and elderly ended up convalescing in the sanitarium. Saint Solars. I had a sheet where I had all the backgrounds set up. Do you know where that went?
I think you showed it in the DM section.
Backgrounds. There we go. The Sanitarium of Saint Solars, blessed be who look after those who cannot look after themselves, is the motto of the Sanitarium of Saint Solars. The Sanitarium of Saint Solars is a monastery established by a collection of monks of various goodly and lawful religions, consecrated in the name of the angel Saint Solars. Over the centuries, the monastery has taken in the destitute, the enfeebled, the infirm, the mad, attending them out of a duty to fellow man. The monastery has expanded several times and now includes a school, a hospice, a sanitarium, a gymnasium, a greenhouse, a crypt, and several wards for various inhabitants. There's also a library there. Saint Solars himself was known to be an enemy of the undead. Monks and holy warriors who follow his teachings learn effective ways of fighting undead. Of days of old, you as a war monk may not have trained at the monastery, but given that the entire kingdom of Samsil has been overturned and conquered, the Sanitarium of Saint Solars ended up becoming a refuge for knowledge and for people. And effectively, when you realized that you wanted to follow in the tradition of your family, of several members of your family, you went seeking out other monks at this monastery. Crusher, as a warrior who has basically trained with those who have teachings against undead, you can choose one of the following boons. +1 circumstance on attack rolls versus undead creatures, or a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against undead.
Saving throws.
Okay, write that down. One of the things that they're looking forward to for you to do is to help them make contact with other places. The monastery is somewhat remote, and for some time they've been trying to get the attention of the Van Imp family, as they haven't been responsive in almost like the last decade. Traveling in these back roads is dangerous. There are traders that do come and deliver goods that are required, and the monastery is somewhat self-sufficient. But the goings-on of what is going on in the rest of the kingdom are very unknown at this point in time. The woods surrounding you, and a kind of like, picture high mountain tops and mountain valleys, and there's this massive forest that spills down the foothills of the mountains. These woods are overrun with dangerous creatures.
So we're cut off.
You have been cut off for some time. However, the village of Sparrow and the manor of Bone Sparrow can be reached via the mountain passes. And it's the village where you're from.
Okay.
But you've been studying for a good amount of time at the monastery and sort of lost track of what was going on.
Yeah.
You know your brother is in town, is in Sparrow. He spends a lot of time in the bush, and probably knows a lot more about the dangers of the forest. In fact, you know your brother has this strange obsession with some of the dark things in that forest.
It's always been a strange one.
He's always claimed that he's hunting. Do you think more it's like tracking and following? And you hope in your heart that it's not becoming. Let's talk a little bit about Shadow. Shadow is what is called a rogue hunter. The Iron Lord has some very strict laws, and all lands in which there is game belong to him, and you are not allowed to hunt.
That guy could go eat him.
And in lands where his bushi ride around, picture hobgoblin samurais. Like the Iron Lord's a hobgoblin, you think, and his hobgoblins have just run around and do horrible things to the local human and demi-human populace. And you're almost lucky in a way that there's this really dangerous forest that is kind of separating you from the rest of Samsel. You do have to pay your taxes. Well, that's more of Ptolemy's problem. We'll get to Ptolemy and Oscar in a minute. Rogue hunters hunt the lands that do not belong to them, braving the dangers of the wilds and the scourge of the law for the thrill of the hunt or simply to put meat on the table. Shadow can pick one of the following. +1 circumstance bonus to melee attacks against animals and beasts, a +1 ranged attack against animals and beasts, or a +1 circumstance bonus to perception checks to spot traps.
Animals and beasts.
Yep.
Traps.
Okay.
Apparently he didn't remember getting his ass kicked by wolves.
Wait, was it? It's attack and damage.
No, just attacks.
We'll do the +1 to attacks. Okay. Background.
Shadow, you are a friend of Kreiger's, as you're from the village of Sparrow. Bonecrusher took off years ago. You don't know what he's been up to. He's been up, like, hanging out with stuffy monks and that sort of thing. You knew that game close to the tree line would be sparse and scarce, and it just didn't sound like the place where you wanted to go. You wanted to stay in the foothills and in the forests. You typically strike out around the small village of Sparrow. Your obsession at this point in time is a local legend, a wolf of massive size and intelligence that haunts the forests of Dyre-Sylvannia, and the wolf's name is the Rebel Prince. What's that?
I'm looking for him.
You're looking for him. Okay. So you may want to mark down the Rebel Prince.
Does this prince yell? Therefore, having a rebel yell.
Shame.
You should do Mark next.
Kreiger, the last you heard, you know Shadow had gone out to hunt wolves. Like a kind of an insane thing to do alone.
Yeah.
Like you run into some angry packs, and they've torn horses and goats and the odd traveler to pieces. So
You can't tell that guy what to do.
right. You've begun to get a little bit worried though, Kreiger, because Shadow's been out there for some time. He's gone for long periods, but this time it's like getting really long.
Okay.
Kreiger. Well, Kreiger's a simple man. Let's go to Krieg. Where is he? Kreiger is the illegitimate son of some knight of epoch who rode through the hamlet of Sparrow, likely on the business to the Bone Sparrow Manor, and left Kreiger's mother with child. While the village was poor, Kreiger's gifts of great strength and endurance have given him an edge, and he's always found work as a laborer, woodcutter, and occasionally as a guard for the local noble family or a traveling merchant. Kreiger is the de facto tough guy of the hamlet. He is a man of the people. He's the man that people come running to when things become violent. The village isn't big enough to have a sheriff. It's likely not even big enough to have like a mayor. It's just a collection of people. Ptolemy's kind of a funny guy. He lives up in the manor, just up on the hill. It's this massive mansion of overgrown vines, and he lives alone. This is a bit weird. You know Oscar, though? You've helped out Oscar a few times. Oscar is like the only visitor that you know that goes up and checks up on Ptolemy.
Okay.
He usually comes up with a cart full of goods and comes down with a cart full of like art and like random, like at first you thought he was robbing Ptolemy.
You know, I should really bring that back.
But then you realize that Oscar was the one that paid Ptolemy's family's taxes and has been braving the road to more civilized lands. Things in the last winter have become very lean, and the wolves have become very, very dangerous. Oscar's kind of lingering around in the town of in the hamlet of Sparrow, and probably hanging out with Ptolemy a little bit. You get the sense that he might ask for a caravan guard.
Okay.
So you're friends with Shadow. You know who Ptolemy is because he's technically your lord. You don't know much about whether that's like legitimate or not, but he lives in the big house.
He's in the big house with the fancy cooks. Must be him.
Knights, your mother's still alive. She's kind of like her name is Kara. She is the Witch of Sparrow. She's some sort of herbalist. She never married. We've got a token for her, actually. I think. Let's see if we can find. She's well respected in the village. De facto village healer, we'll say. And she's healed your wounds more than a few times. D&D, enter the dungeon, go to conversation, and characters. Sparrow and Bone Sparrow. There's Sparrow. There's a creepy, tall guy that also lives with Ptolemy. Pretty sure it's his manservant. You've seen him from afar pick up great amounts of weight with like little effort, and you're wondering if truly you are the strongest man in Sparrow. But he lives up in Bone Sparrow, so the strong man of Sparrow still is there. But you might have some competition with Mr. Golem.
Mr. Golem?
Yes.
Mr. Golem, is it?
Yes, he is Ptolemy's manservant. Alright, so Kreiger, we need to give you a little bit of a boon here. We're going to call the boon Muleback.
Okay.
Carry my stuff.
You add 1 to your bulk capacity.
Awesome. Nice.
Carry my stuff.
Sure, where you're going to put the boons to stick them somewhere on your character sheet.
Put them under the background.
Yeah, put them in the background. Ancestry feats and stuff.
Other than that, I guess it's just like chopping wood, doing odd tasks, helping out farmers, helping out people in the village, and Kreiger's always had this idea, though, that there might be another war, and he's pretty sure. I guess he probably prays to the Red God that some sort of conflict comes, where he gets a chance to prove his bravery against the wicked-toothed hobgoblin menace.
Sounds good to me.
These wild priest people are nuts. They're the opposite of our, like, no, you prepare for war so you don't have war. They're like, no, I prepare for war. So there's war. Bring it!
If it doesn't come, I will
Bring
bring
it!
Sure fight yet? Okay, you call me when the trick's happening.
I'm right over here.
Darian Montague. Oh, that's not Darian's token. This is Darian's token. Characters. That's the old token. Oh, I don't have the new one.
Oh, it's on his character sheet.
Yeah.
Doesn't want efficiently dragon off from there.
Gotta save it. Here.
Here.
Alright, I got it. We got the technology. We can do it. We can do it.
This is Mom.
There's Darian. Look at that, put him.
I disapprove.
The Montague family is an old aristocratic family. Darian's grandfather, Dargus, was a knight of Epoch in the service of Great King Hestron, and fought and died in the Battle of Emrity Downs against the Temple hordes. Darian's father, following in his own father's footsteps, heeded the call of the Great King Hestron, raised banners and fought the invading armies of the Iron Lord. When Darian's father did not return, and news spread of King Hestron's death, Darian's mother, Nirvana, took Darian to the Sanitarium of Saint Solars. There she spent the rest of her years slowly succumbing to grief. Raised by priests and monks, Darian received religious and martial training and took up the sword. In the name of the Five-Faced God. You don't know much about where your actual family holding should be, but they're somewhere. They're somewhere in probably Dyre-Sylvannia, or maybe the quadrant over. You don't know much about your father. What item do you have that is of your father's?
He has an amulet that was his father's.
Okay. It was an amulet left behind from your father that he gave to your mother, and then when your mother passed, it was bequeathed to Darian.
Mark that down.
The boon that Darian gets is a +1 circumstance bonus to diplomacy checks with humans. as he is a champion of the five-faced god who is known to be a champion of the causes of humanity and civilization.
Champion of man is good name for it?
Yeah, champion of man.
You're one of those guys. Don't be like that.
Darian, the caretakers of the monastery of, or the Sanitarium of Saint Solars, want you to deliver a letter to Baron Van Imp. They are doubtful that you get the sense that while it is addressed to the Van Imp family and give this to the Baron, they also say, or whomever's shoes, or whomever is filling the Baron's shoes.
Gotcha.
And it's a stack of letters that are actually not. There's a letter from the sanitarium, but you also see that there's another stack of notes or letters from a different place. It's almost like you're couriering them to the Bone Sparrow Manor, or wherever the Baron will be. Darian, you've spent a lot of time training with Bone Crusher. You have a great appreciation for somebody who's willing to fight a man with an armed sword with his fists.
Seems like a lot of crazy talk to me, but pulls it off. Good on you.
Your discipline lies in your soul. Mine lies in my fists. Keep training. So shall I.
Well, pitter patter, let's get on it, right?
Yes, here's a pattern.
Oh no. We need to come up with our own catchphrases. That was a little too on the nose. Alright.
That is universal. I got a pitter patter at work when I was 20.
Alkur, these two knuckleheads, you don't know how many times they've decided to train in the courtyard just outside of the library. It seems to be just the two of them. While there are other people that have trained, these two men are like fearsome beasts. You've never seen men this strong. They must have ate the same grain and drank from the same waters. They definitely came from different women, but they are physical. Alkur Lasad. Alkur is an elf, a young elf. He's a wandering priest, educated in theology and engineering, as well as arcana. Alkur is obsessed with studying the architectural wonders of Samsil and beyond, especially those buildings constructed on confluences of arcane and divine power. Alkur, many years ago, probably a decade ago, went on a pilgrimage to the Sanitarium of Saint Solars. Actually, over 30 years ago. You've been at the Sanitarium for 30 years.
I remember when they couldn't, when they screamed.
To study its architecture, read the books in the library, and spend time in quiet contemplation. The kingdom of Samsil has drastically changed over those 30 years, with rumors of fell powers rising with the death of the king. Alkur starts the game with 2 hero points instead of 1, because Adam remembered how to spell Marty's last name. How long have I been friends with you guys?
Long time.
Yeah. Shame. Funny.
Every session we start off with 1 hero point.
Yeah.
Use them or lose them.
Alkur is a cloistered cleric. 30 years reading library. Apparently he travels around to places where there are libraries and then reads all the books.
The library. Yes.
The library.
The Dewey Decimal System, where you start at 0.0.0
Yep.
and end at 99999.
Okay, so you've You've completed some of the books, and a few books have been added. You're actually waiting for a book to be finished copying because it was almost destroyed. They wouldn't let you touch it, and you're waiting to read some tome. You are a scholar and a cleric of the Heart of Gold, and probably always on the lookout for when civilization turns bad,
Yes.
like a rotten forest where fire is required. Build and destroy. As an acolyte of goodly civilization, Alkur does have a small family. They live in the village of Hamlet, which is on the other side of the Dyre-Sylvannia of the forest. You've got a sister that lives there. You haven't seen her in a long time. Letters, are having a hard, messengers and travelers are fewer and further between, or the caravans, when they actually get through, are much more armed.
It wasn't that long ago. 10, 20, maybe it's been some time.
Oh, it sounds like, I don't know, roll a d20. Opposed check between Bone Crusher and Kreiger. Not Kreiger, sorry, Darian.
20. Oh.
Okay, critical success. It sounds like Bone Crusher's howling. It sounds like Darian's winning today.
Oh. That's a low blow.
Low blow. You actually tripped on a bit of a cobble, and he smacked you with his shield, and then brought in the training sword, which with a critical threat broke it over the top of your head.
Oh, the headache.
Maybe they'll give us a rest now that the soul is broken. Oh no, now he's chasing him around.
Not you.
Does Kreiger know how to write?
How to write?
Mm-hmm.
Are barbarians still illiterate?
Kreiger, they didn't say anything about them being illiterate.
I think they made fun of that during the Q&A, so I don't think that exists anymore.
Okay. So, Kreiger, what did you say in a very simple note that you sent up the mountain with a goat herder that was bringing his goats up the mountain to the cloister? You know the shadow's been gone. He's long overdue.
Alright. The note says, if Bone Crusher's there, his brother's missing in the woods hunting wolves.
Okay. You know who Kreiger is. He was the strong lad in the village, who should have also received some sort of military training like Darian did, but he was too much of a village boy to leave. But you do receive this message that.
How many days is it between?
Let's see. I think the quadrants are 60-mile hexes or 60-mile grids. Check my notes.
Years of not playing with dice, and all of a sudden the superstitions are coming back. You look luckier than that one.
Samsil Runrak. Yeah, I believe there's 60 miles, so it's 60 miles through mountainous terrain.
60 miles.
60. Well, hold on.
3 or 4
Hold on. 60 miles to a side, and then you are. Let's see. Did I leave? Put the tokens down of where everyone is.
25 or 30 miles.
Ah. Oh no.
The map size might not be the right.
I have taken over the quadrant.
Over?
Yeah, I haven't adjusted the map size, so I have to make it the minimum.
This is mine. That's a mythic power if I ever heard one. Mark and I were talking about how cool it would be to have the 1 mile fog radius.
Yeah.
60-mile reach.
It looks like around 20 miles. through mountain passes, and then there are roads.
2-3 days.
Yeah, 2-3 days to get to Bone
To the village.
to Sparrow Village.
Okay. Receive the note.
Alkur is also approached by the Sanitarium elders, and they are asking if you could go along with. They're looking for someone to go along with Darian. They're very hesitant to send someone out alone in the mountain passes, especially of some mission of importance, given the rise of wolf attacks. You're well aware that wolves have been.
Wolves are dangerous. To go with the young Darian.
Yes, the Bone Sparrow Manor is also a small architectural marvel. It is a strange place. Some believe that it simply appeared.
Truly, that must be a legend. Period.
Yes, the Van Imps have long since been our lords, but it remains a mystery as to how the manor appeared. For there is no accounting of its construction.
Likely would do well to stretch my legs and let my robes flow in the breezes once more. So what's it been? A few years?
Yes, few years.
Entire life.
Yep.
In here.
Yep. They're fine with you staying. You're a minor healer, but they're asking for the room and board that they've been giving you. They're kind of saying, well, yeah, you can help us out now. This right after Bone Crusher got his head cracked open by Darian is when the messenger actually finds him and kind of hands Bone Crusher a note.
Are you a healer?
No, sir. A herder.
Maybe I'll see that elf. What do you seek? Who do you seek?
You're Bone Crusher?
Yes.
This is from a large man in Sparrow. He says he knows you. A man named Kreiger.
Kreiger, yes. It's a long time. A message from him, you say?
He seemed concerned about something. He gave me this to give to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh no, he paid me a silver. Subtract a silver more.
You owe me. I don't have a lot of those. I'm personally.
It's that breastplate.
Shadows missing, he says. What's the other guy? Darian. As soon as I get this looked at, I'm going to be heading back to the village. Would you care to join?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have a job of my own. Going to be taking me right by there, so you got it, buddy.
Already settled that. I'm just going to go see the elf about this.
Yeah, I should get that looked at. It's not looking too good right now.
That'll be fine.
Got splinters stuck into the skin at the top of his head. Blood kind of trickling down.
If you can look at this quickly, we'll be heading out soon.
I seem to have misplaced my tools.
Perception check.
Scribe, might there be a healer's kit that I could collect before the travel?
Do you not have any?
I forgot to buy one. So I can buy one. I have coin. Healer's kits are normal on priests.
I need a good crazy man name.
Like, there's a couple types of crazy.
Like the most dangerous man in the sanitarium crazy?
Polius. Yes.
Polio.
He cripples everybody.
Sad. Zix.
Zad. I like Zad.
Sad Zork.
Zad Colby. Okay. So you go looking for a healer's kit.
It costs as much as your breastplate, by the way.
What's that?
It's like 5 gold pieces.
For a healer's kit?
Yeah.
They must be significantly better than they were in the last edition.
No, they just let you do the check. Otherwise, I can't put your spleen back in.
These toolkits, 5 gold pieces.
3.
Or 3 gold. It's expensive. It's a lot of money.
How you do your job? But that's
Okay. So the three of you, you're like going to go fetch a healing kit,
Yep.
and Darian's waiting around with Bone Crusher. And as you're about to kind of like leave towards the hospice to get the healer's kit, you realize in the adjacent courtyard that they've got Zad Colby.
Look,
Who is that cool?
Zad Colby is the most dangerous man in the sanitarium. He's truly mad. You believe that he might be a wizard who was captured during the time when King Hestrin fought agents of the temple. And he is basically kept always bound. It looks like some of the monks have brought him out to get some air. He is basically kind of in a rolling upwards like cart.
Okay.
And he's bound, and he's just sort of looking around. Nobody's there guarding him. They might have just wheeled him there and left him in the middle of the square. You do know that he has something called finger traps. They're magical wizard finger traps that keep their thumbs kind of bound. He's also in a straitjacket, lots of chains. But you do kind of stop and like, whoa, that's Zad. And his muzzle is off.
that shouldn't be off.
He's kind of staring up at the sky, disheveled look, and I'll put Zad Colby's
Is
token
it
down.
next to him or is it on the
Oh,
ground?
jeez.
Is it like just undone, like hanging down? Or?
Yeah, it's like it's kind of it's like normally has like a full on muzzle because he bites, but it's sort of hanging off a little bit.
That's not supposed to be hanging off.
No, it isn't. Might try to do me a favor and close it.
I smell fear.
No,
There he goes again.
that is not something you could smell at this distance.
Come here, elf. I'm thirsty. I want to live another 100 years.
Okay.
Crusher puts his hand behind Alkur.
Big man. Look at the big man.
Alkur is really like tentative in his actions. He's going to.
Always stepping in front, aren't you? Look like a shield.
Well, I do care. So.
We're going to cast Forbidding Ward on both Zad and Damien.
Okay.
Darian.
What does that do?
+1 AC and saves against that foe.
Okay.
You mean Crusher?
No,
Not the-
those two.
Oh.
One enemy, one ally.
Okay. Got it. He's an enemy and an ally target.
Yeah.
Do I see the muzzle anywhere?
No, it's like it's
It's hanging down.
it's hanging down by a strap, like someone loosely put it on. You don't see how he might have got it off. You put it in a place, you'll still be able to talk. But
Alright. So, if I try to put that muzzle back on the way it's supposed to be, are you gonna try and eat my fingers?
Careful.
no.
I don't believe him.
No, that there's the face of a fibber. Right there.
Oh, newly minted Paladin. Got that new Paladin sort of smell.
That's interesting.
Okay, so we can just put that back on. Or we can force it back on. And I don't see any need to hurt you.
Humble beginning.
Okay.
Round and round we go.
Alkur goes to smell
Yep.
Darian just to see if there's a new palette. It smells like dirty, stinky guy who's
It's-
been working out.
Yeah, working out in his armor.
Okay, here we go.
Cloistered. Safe. Indoor elf.
You know what? I'm gonna go find another pair of gloves just to put on top of these ones. Might have something catchy.
So cautious in their baby steps.
He has a point. I've never used him.
They always are. They always are.
Alright, so I couldn't find any leather gloves that fit over my leather gloves, but I found these baking mitts. This might take a minute.
He grins evilly. So fearful.
I prefer to use the term cautious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wonder if these ones will succeed.
What do you mean?
Oh. Around and around we go.
Around what?
It is a question, isn't it? Why?
I am confused.
Oh, simple monk.
I heard a rumor that you were a war wizard
Huh?
in an ancient army.
War wizard.
Are they true?
I mere fought for someone long ago. The wizards only fight for themselves.
Well, that there seems like a gross generalization. It's not entirely fair to every individual wizard.
Oh, you fight for something?
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I do. And good for me for that. And good for you too, Bone Crusher.
That's right.
And good for, well, you read lots, so good for you.
Bone Crusher. A fun name.
Yes.
Your parents must be very proud that you grew up big and strong and capable of doing the things that they wanted you to do.
I learned to be a student so
You
that I can
learn
teach others.
to be a student, so you could teach others. How's that going for
Well, so far I was the student today. I'm trickling blood down the side of the head.
you? Yes, we're all students in a way, learning a lesson.
I always wondered, what pushed you over?
What do you mean?
You weren't always like this.
Don't sniff the mushrooms. She is so beautiful. Oh.
Okay, stop talking. I'm just getting it.
I want Oscar to be here so bad because he just tipped the guy out of his face. There's a wheelie racket.
Alright, here's how it's gonna work. You try to bite me, and we're putting something in your mouth so you can't do that.
At this point in time, when he seemed to be orgasming over the mushrooms and how beautiful she was, his eyes have rolled in the back of his head, and he seems to be having some sort of seizure.
Good time.
It's a good time to throw something in his mouth.
Alright, so you kind of close the little hatch and kind of undo the strap so he can't bite you. Yeah, you successfully do that. You have to abandon the oven mitts, however, to actually get the strap closed. But yeah, some monks come in. What's going on? Stay back!
What's going on is some of you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Someone's watching this guy all the time. What's wrong with you?
You see like a couple of acolytes coming out with like buckets and soap, like they were gonna like wash him off, I guess, in the square. And
He's having a seizure.
Like a medical check?
yeah, give me
What
a
the fuck am I seeing? And or any other check?
give me first die roll of the campaign there. Oh no, the first die roll is a critical hit in your sparring match.
22.
Yes, this guy has some condition. You'd probably likened it to a disease.
He is touched.
The 22. This could have been a condition that was avoided. Some substance did this to him. Something very powerful.
Perhaps his body has been corrupted.
They're like, it happens all the time, and you notice that they kind of pry his mouth open, kind of from the side, and stick a stick in it, and keep him from swallowing his tongue.
Why?
They look at you like they're confused with the answer.
Why would he swallow his tongue, or why would you swallow it? Which one would you do?
The second. If he is... What does he worship? He was referring to some woman.
Or a mushroom.
Well, really not sure what to do with them. They say it's like three young but respected people of the community are kind of asking them. The elders see it fit to keep them around.
Well, let me help you help. That's all you do.
I believe he was an agent of some ancient enemy. Perhaps they're hoping to learn something from him. Every once in a while they seem interested in what he says, but there's a whole book full of his ramblings. They don't really interrogate him anymore.
Is it in the normal catalogs?
Give me a lore academia check.
There. Go academia. 22.
You know that there is a small library that has the Forbidden Tomes. And the Forbidden Tomes, you know, has the interrogations of Zad Colby, which is like a detailed account of the things that they've learned from his mad ramblings, and sometimes just transcripts of his mad ramblings.
And I have not read the Forbidden.
No, you're a visitor. They let you into the library. You read some neat stuff. You have all the skills that you have. You were not allowed to go into the library of the Forbidden Tomes. That is for the Elder Council to grant permission to do.
I suppose I have to do favors for the Elder Council then. I want to read the Madman Scribble Journal.
It's good to have goals. Write it down. I want to read the Madman Scribble Journal. And on the 5th day, there was poop. Purple poop. Could you pass me a Pepsi Max? Thanks. Just to prove to everyone we're in the same room.